This is Jenolan Caves within the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area. With its underground rivers, caves and natural archways, Jenolan is an example of a type of landform called karst. Karst landforms are typically found in limestone areas. Sycamore Maple is a fast-growing deciduous tree native to Europe. It's very invasive and has a lifespan of more than 300 years. Sycamores have spread rapidly from historic plantings around Caves House to the top of Oberon Hill, forming dense monocultures within 3 kilometres. Because the seeds are winged and can thus fly, they've spread a further 14 kilometres away from the Jenolan Caves precinct by hilltopping on the wind. These trees grow in such high densities they outcompete the native vegetation, but they provide no habitat for native animal species. The area covered by sycamore has almost doubled in size since the late 1980s. It stands at 50 hectares in 2013. Government agencies and conservation groups describe the control challenge as incredibly overwhelming. Looking up from the Jenolan Caves car park, the surrounding slopes are covered in sycamores. Their impact even reaches into the caves because the trees drop leaves into the creek that runs through the cave system, and this adversely affects the invertebrates that live there. Because sycamore maple has potential to invade an area much larger than the current infestation, it presents a significant threat to the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area. There's now a volunteer sycamore control program that runs 4 weekends per year. It's supported by professional bush regenerators, the National Parks and Wildlife Service, and Jenolan Caves Reserve Trust staff who train the volunteers in safe weed control.
Because the grade is so steep here, often what happens is as a small seedling, they often will get pushed over and start growing almost downhill. And it's only when they get strength in the stem that they start growing upright again. So what we're looking to get is a nice, low, flat cut surface as close to the ground as possible. So originally, you can see the soil was here, but the actual place where the optimum cut's going to be is further down here. If I cut it here, there's potentially enough energy left in the base of this trunk for it to reshoot. We've got about 20 seconds, roughly, in order to apply some herbicide to that wound. Now that's treated. So we've got one next to it. So again, initially just clearing around the base. And again, what you see, once you start digging a little bit, this one's not a severe one, but it just creates this little kink where initially when the trunk's been weak, it's been pushed over by a lot of this loose material that's coming down the slope. This one's grown an additional little set of roots to keep it anchored, I suspect. So we'll do each one as separate ones. This is a really good example of where someone, or where this sycamore's been previously treated quite high. It's been cut here previously, possibly about 2 years ago, and now we've got about 60 sycamores coming up under the original cut. So this would have been cut, painted with herbicide. The plants shut that section off, but all of the energy for it to reshoot is still being held back in the lower part of the trunk here. So after tracing that back, was able to get a bigger, broader cut at the base of the trunk, or as far as I could get to without excavating half the hillside. And there's a lot of rock and material, and already I can see that what initially presented as the trunk is not. We've actually got it coming right up to here. Has originally germinated from here. It's been pushed down the slope by the soil and the rocks, and as it's gotten more material behind it, it's then had to struggle before it can come upright. So the original rocks that I moved away were actually at about this level. A nice low cut. I'm just about to stem inject this sycamore. It's already been partly prepped for the stem injection with the lower branches being cut and removed, so we can have got good access to the stump. So the first thing we've got to do is clear away the leaf litter from the bottom and find the base of the tree. This tree is multi-stemmed, so we're going to need to treat each of these trunks as an individual trunk, and we're going to put a series of holes around the trunk of the tree and then fill the holes with herbicide. So while I'm on this side, I'll do both trunks from this side. You start off with the hole, you want to go straight vertically in to key in the hole, and then you've got to angle the drill down to a 45 degree and then fill up the hole with herbicide. So there's our first hole. So we need to do a series of those, and with a trunk this diameter, we'll be looking at approximately a 2-finger width apart all the way around the trunk of the tree. So we'll go in for our second one. Straight in and then 45. Fill that hole with herbicide. Another one round here. And while I'm in this position, I'll do this side as well. You've got to get yourself in a good position so you're stable, because on these slopes you tend to slide down pretty easily. So I've got my approximately 2-finger width distance. I'm just doing a few holes. You've got 20 to 30 seconds to get your herbicide in there. One more. Okay, fill those up. And if you happen to go through and hit a hole that you've already done, not a problem, as long as they're roughly the same level, so the herbicide doesn't run out the lower hole. So we'll finish this tree off. And that one's full. And we've now got a ring around both trunks. And it doesn't matter that these are at different levels, as long as we've got consistent holes all the way around both trunks. If you had a very narrow, small sycamore, you might only fit 2 or 3 holes in there. If you've got a massive, big, old sycamore, you'd be happy with sort of 3-finger widths apart. But a smaller trunk tree, you might go 2-finger widths apart. One of the rewarding things of coming back and being able to see where we've worked is seeing this. So this is a primary colonising native species. This is the forest nightshade, so it's certainly a good sign that the bushland is regenerating and has some resilience left, which is fabulous considering it's been under sycamores for a number of decades. The stinging nettle also, primary colonising species, and a good sign, and you can sort of see behind, up the hill a little bit, it's actually come back quite densely. I'm touching it very gingerly because it has very fine little hairs that can get into your skin and aggravate you and sort of give you a stinging sensation for quite a few hours. But definitely a good sign of bushland regenerating. And then just under here we've got an acacia. One of the common acacia species at Jenolan Caves is the Blackwater Acacia melanoxylon. My understanding of Acacia melanoxylon is it can remain dormant in the soil for a couple of 100 years before it regenerates. So actually having this recruited on the site after such a long time and the number of decades it's been suppressed in the soil under the canopy of the sycamores is incredibly encouraging. So this is really quite exciting for us to see a shrub species coming back. So in a number of years we'll start getting native canopy back, and then a lot more of the native diversity will be able to come back into the understory.